to this course, which is philosophy of history. I think I'm already familiar with this group. Um, yeah. Uh, so how did the exams go? The one that you wrote, how was it?
The,
Unu.
the,
Okay, Justice, if you can.
Doc, please, it was cool.
It
It
was
was
cool.
cool.
What
Yes,
about
please.
Suleiman? Suleiman, how did it go for you?
Sir, please, the line was breaking. I didn't hear what you said, but I heard you mention my name.
Yeah. So, did you take part in the exam that you wrote recently?
Yes, sir, I did.
How was the paper?
Oh, the paper, it was good. It was
Okay.
good. Most important, especially the forests and coastal areas.
Mm, that was where you are. All you are poking, man. Okay. What
Uh,
about Unu
yeah,
too?
Doc,
How?
Doc, it was good. Just that during my second quiz, I faced a problem.
Hey, what
Yes,
was the result of it?
I couldn't complete my quiz and the network jumped. I also did not capture any evidence to support or to log a complaint to the those in charge.
The one you did it online.
Yes, the second quiz.
So if you have any problem, I think you can write officially today. And
Okay.
if you remember where you ended when it jammed, you can write and notify.
Oh, for the end of semester, it is cool. I've never faced any problem writing your exam, Doc. It has
Okay.
always been good. Yeah.
Okay. I think we have Mr. Richard Opoku joining us now. Yeah, we will go straight to look at the course outline for this course, which is philosophy of history. Now, yeah, so philosophy of history is a very good course, and we expect that you do this course. So I will be with you for the course. Yeah, so let's look at the course description. What is the course? I've not shared the screen. Let me share the screen. Okay. So let me share my screen and then so entire screen. Okay, share. So philosophy of history. Yeah. So can you do you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is good. So philosophy of history. Now let's look at the course description. We have to want to have an idea about the course description. Yeah. So now I think you are now majoring in history, so you need to be well versed. You have to have an in-depth knowledge in the discipline or in the subject history. Because some of you after this, you may wish to do MPhil and even PhDs in the history, so that, and especially now that we need more lecturers in the in history in this field of study, because of course those in the colleges for education now, we have History of Ghana as a program that they are doing there. And yeah, we need lecturers who teach them. And even at the universities, we need more lecturers. We don't have enough lecturers at all. So we are encouraging people to do further studies, higher studies in history. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, so history, let's look at the course description. Let's go straight away. Can you hear me?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah, so history is a compressed concept and discipline. Yeah, as you said, if you ask you to define history, you see that there's no single definition for history. You may explain it in several ways so that you have certain salient words or points within the definition. There's no one specific definition. So history itself as a discipline is very compressed as a concept, or it's a compressed concept and discipline. And so historians are diverse, the diverse group. They are because what they normally do is that they have the fact and they interrogate the fact, or they do analysis of the fact. And so that is why, so the fact is there, but the analysis will differ, or the analysis differs. So they take different approaches to the definition and study of the discipline. Yeah, since you have a certain fact that you have different people, or have people explaining them or are doing the analysis in different ways. So this course introduces you to the nature of historical facts. Now we need to have an idea about the nature of historical facts and how various historians perceive history. So various historians, how do they see history? How do they perceive history? And we need to have an idea about that. What is history? So this course is where we teach what is history. We look at certain important aspects of history. So have an idea. Now it is divided into two broad aspects. So we have the critical aspect or the analytical aspect. So we have critical or analytical philosophy, and we have the speculative philosophy. These are the two main broad aspects of philosophy of history. So analytical or critical philosophy of history, and of course, as I said, we also have the speculative one. Now, the critical philosophy of history traces the nature of historical explanation in history. So, what is the nature of how do we explain things in history? What is the nature of explanation in history? Interpretations, how do we interpret historical facts? Do you make moral judgments in history? Or you can say, can history be objective or not? Is history objective? Can be objectivity in history, or is history a science or not, as people think? Now, these issues fall under the critical or the analytical philosophy of history, and also have the speculative aspects. I don't know whether you draw the attention of the one who normally records. We are doing, if the person has interest in recording, the person can record. Yeah, so we also have, as I said, the speculative aspects, and that deals with the various theories regarding the cause of historical events. So various theories. So, and that is where we will look at it and see that somebody will say that, oh, we have, for example, I think we delve into details. So it's, everybody should kindly mute. Those who have forgotten, kindly mute for us. Yeah, so for example, somebody will say that there is what we refer to as the cyclical theory, where the person thinks that there's a cycle that people will go through, and another person will say, no, I don't. I also think that there is what a linear relationship, and there's a providence theory. Another person say, oh, there's what do you call it, historical materialism, karmas, and so you see various theories put forward by individuals, put forward by individuals to explain the cause of historical events. Okay, so now having seen the course description, let us now delve uh let us now delve into let us now delve into the course objectives. So what are the objectives that we intend to achieve after going through this course? What are the objectives that we intend to achieve? Now, by the end of the course, we should be able to, for one, explain the term history and its relevance. So we should be able, I think those of you who did world civilization, we did introduce you to what is history. So here, philosophy of history is where we teach what is history. And so at the end of the course, we expect that we should be able to explain the term history. And then, of course, identify the relevance of the discipline. And again, we should also be able to describe the nature of historical facts. And again, we should be able to appreciate the view of various scholars about the course. That is COURSE, the course and nature of history. So what is the course and nature of history? And again, examine the relationship between history and other disciplines. We should be able to do that. So to be able to realize these objectives, what are the topics that we shall discuss? Now, let's see. So, first of all, we look at what is history and its nature. We have to have an idea about history and its nature. Then, what are historical facts? So, we shall look at what are historical facts. You need to delve into historical facts and be able to identify historical facts. So, that one says historical facts, you know what you're talking about. And then we look at the usefulness of history. That's the relevance of history, usefulness of history or use of history. Then we look at philosophies of history. What are the philosophies? So the various philosophies. So philosophies of history, we have to look at philosophies of history. Then we'll go into the critical or analytical philosophy of history. We'll look at that one. That's where we are going to dwell extensively. That's the critical or analytical philosophy. And of course, we also look at the speculative philosophy. Then, as for the assessment, I think that you are already familiar with the assessment. So as exams, end of semester exams will take 60% of the mass of the score, and that is 60 marks. And then assessment will also continue. Assessment will also take, for example, 40, 20 face to face, and I think 20 online, 20 marks online. As there are some uh, bibliographies, in other words, references or reading suggested reading lists that are available. Those of you who get some of them online, you can download them to support what we provide. The slides, the lecture slides that I will walk you through, and maybe after that also put in on the page for you to go through. We have Agawa JC Agawa's teaching of history, a practical approach, and that is it. A Japan looking at the politics of terrorizing historical reconstruction, an examination of the views of protagonists and antagonists, historical research related. Again, what is history in his work? Then, but the most important work is E.H. Carr's What is History? And E.H. Carr is an expert in philosophy of history. And of course, he looks at what is history, very important. If you want to have an idea about the discipline history, you need to look at E.H. Carr's work, What is History? Now, having seen this, we will go straight to the first topic. There's no time at all to look at what is history. And I think that we are already familiar with history because those of you who did the course, and all of you are major students, so you did HIS305D World Civilization, where I took you through, I think I taught you, and I took you through history. So it's a matter of revision. And for that matter, I don't think I have to take more time here or waste time here. Yes, when you say history, as we saw, it's very simple. It's the record of past human actions. Anything that is systematic, that systematic record. It's a systematic record of past human actions or activities. So everything that is systematic means it's very important, and yeah. So record about past human actions, those things that are relevant are documented. So what our forefathers did, what they said, what they planned, what they thought, what they achieved, even what they failed, we need to have an idea about them so that we could shape them for for yeah, for better present. We are actually interested in understanding the present. So what is happening now, and of course not the future. So how do we, even though having an insight into the past will help us make form a view of what will happen in the future, that is not the concern of the professional historians. Yeah, so of course we need to have an idea of what our ancestors did, what they said, what they planned, what they thought, what they achieved, and even what they failed. Yeah, very important. And have certain traditions, belief systems, customs, institutions, ideas, and people. We need to know them. For example, even people, the people, those in Ghana, people of Ghana, those in the north. So we have to have an idea about them, understand them, their culture, the way of life of such people. Where did they come from? Their identity, their can, for example. Where did they come from? The identity and all these things. The Gadangwe, the airway. Even so, the people need to have idea about them. We need to understand them. The ideas, some of the things, institutions, their customs, belief systems that make them unique, and so forth. So where did this evolve? Did they make any substantial contribution to knowledge? These are some of the issues that, of course, we need to interrogate, and very important. And doing so, then of course, we are in the realm of history as a discipline, and that is so. The record is systematic, and we do that. Another somebody would just say that it is the study of important past events, those things that really happened in the past that are relevant. We are actually not interested in things that are not important, but those that are actually very crucial or very important. Now, EHK, as I already said, had done a whole work or has written a work, a comprehensive one indeed, in history. And so that is what is history. So Carr's work, he has defined history. And so I just want to walk you through that one. I just want you to have an idea about what Carr says about history. Now, according to Carr, history is a continuous process of interaction. So it means that you need to interact something. It's a process, it's a dialogue that should never end. So a continuous process of interaction between the historian and his facts. So you, the historian, you come across certain facts, and the fact that you come across, you need to interrogate it, and that interrogation should be continuous. Or, according to him, an unending dialogue between the present and the past, a kind of dialogue that should never cease, that should never end. And so Carr is saying that you should have a dialogue between the present. Now, the most important thing that we are about, in fact, that we study history, is to understand the present. Now, today, the time that we are having the class, this is the present time, and that is what is important to us, and not the future. For tomorrow, we don't know what will happen. Even if the world is going to end tomorrow, nobody knows it. But now, that is the present. And to understand what is happening now, we need to have an insight from the past to shape the present. And so Kai is saying that we should have a dialogue, and that kind of dialogue, that kind of conversation should never end. So a conversation or a dialogue between the present and the past is very important. And so in simple terms, ladies and gentlemen, we say that history is the study of past events, people, and places which are of significance to the present. So, for example, now you saw what Mansa Musa did in Mali, and some of the things that he did that plunged the whole Mali into what? Yeah, and to their present situation now. As you look at Mali, they're very so rich in gold, but look at Mansa Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca, and that now look at Mali. So, of course, if you have an idea about such, and you have become a ruler or a president or any you hold in a position, you will know how to go about things. It will shape your present and will guide some of the things that you are doing. Now, having seen what is history, I think we can proceed to look at its relevance. So why studying history in contemporary time? This time that the world is changing, we are in the era of technology. In fact, advanced technology. So we are now in. So look at the era that we have. We have. So the phase of the world that we are, digital revolution. Things are changing very soon. I don't think people even like we are doing. You people, I don't even meet you in yeah face to face. It is only online. But very soon you get your certificate, and it is wet. So look at the era, the kind of revolution that we are in. So you see, I don't know, like third industrial revolution, which is digital revolution. The AI, a time will come that nobody will even go to school like we are now having at the university, and so when you go to lecture hall and about so many people are standing there looking at your face, and you walk there to teach them. No, look at where we are. You have various destinations. Some are in the northern part of Ghana, others in Ashanti region, and others in eastern region, and where we are having class. So simple. Okay, so things are changing. Why are we now doing history? So if this time round we are doing history, then it means that history is very relevant, and therefore we need to know some of the values or the significance of the discipline. And don't forget that in the face of all these technological advancement, if we don't have peace, there's no peace and there's war, and people set fire in houses, and people are running in the bush chasing, and people are killing. So where will be? No, no. So that is why history is very important, and especially the humanities. So one of them is that one of the relevance of the values of history is that it promotes national harmony and integration. Without peace and harmony, you cannot even do this call that you are doing. You can, yeah, you can be, you can live in your own house or home comfortably. People come and kill you. So peace is very important. When you go to, you see the war between the Israelis and the Pakistanians and whatever, whatever. Now the way they are killing people, they will go and drop bomb, and you can see they will tell us this number of people, all of them dead. So that you have an idea. If you, whether you are a professor, you are who and who are no, you die, and all the things that you have achieved, nothing, just waste, useless. So of course, you know that peace and harmony, national peace and harmony is crucial for other things to prevail. And so history does this. In fact, it promotes national harmony and integration. How does it do this? Now you see that um, in history, we come across a whole lot of people. We look at their culture. We look at their way of life. So you understand that we have different cultures. We have unique way of life, and so we will tolerate. So the fact that, for example, I'm a Asante, someone is an Asante, and the person is enjoying, say, a snail, and someone is also from the northern Ghana, and the person also enjoys, let's say, a snake. You see that, yeah, it's a culture. Once you have understood culture, and you know differences in cultures, you appreciate. We don't, someone who is an Akan who doesn't like eating a snake. When you see somebody from northern Ghana eating a snake, you feel okay because you have read it, you have understood it, you have sat with these people, and so that's good. Now, apart from history promoting harmony and national integration, it also inculcates a sense of patriotism and nationalism. I call it patriotism. So the way you pronounce it there is not my problem, but I pronounce it as patriotism. But I know it is patriotism, but I pronounce it patriotism and nationalism. Yeah. So you having love for your country and be loyal. You see, the one of the challenges that we face as a nation is that we are not loyal. People will bribe you, go to the ports and harbors. You see that people just something that should go into the confession receipt. Somebody will say, "Oh, let me give you 100,000, 1 billion the currency, and yeah, this one about 20 billion. I don't have money. They're going to the state after what are they doing? Let me just give you. You are suffering. Look at you and your children and your wife. So let me give you this." And oh, okay, okay. You give the person envelope and you clear the goods. So you see, we are not patriotic. Neither are we loyal. And so now we are saying that historians, no historian should do that. You have to be, you have to be patriotic and you have to be loyal. So nationalism, you belong to a state, so having a sense of belonging to a state, and therefore, once you identify yourself with the state, you need to actually um, uh, uh, be loyal and commit yourself. Look at what those who were in the forefront of the assault during decolonization. Another way during the independence struggle in Nkrumah and Co. You saw that some of them even they fought till they were incarcerated. In other words, they were jailed. So that will give an idea about some of these issues. Apart from this, so you should be loyal, you should be patriotic, and all that. Now, you should be ready to even die for your nation. Once you have read history, you'll be committed. And that's why the Americans and the other people, they do history, right? Everybody, history is a mandatory. You will do history from the basic to the university level. Everybody will do, whether you are doing medicine or you are doing pharmacy, irrespective of the course, you will do this. So that you have this sense of patriotism and you have the love. You see that those people, they have their nation at heart, and so that they can even shoot their parents. Yeah, they can shoot their parents and say that. But you see that their nation, they love it so much that even there's war. There was one medical doctor who came from US to work in Ghana, and I think there was a certain civil war. He could say, "No, no, 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 I'm going to fight." Say, doc, you are in the consulting. No, 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 no. I can't be here. I'm going to fight. Whether he will die or not, he will go. But if it were a Ghanaian or some of us who people who are not patriotic, say, "Oh, I thank God I'm not there. That this thing is going on there." You see, people will run away. But so patriotism is actually good, and we need to do that. Okay, so again, history quickens the imaginative skills of individuals. You see, that's why when you come to the universities, the historians are, they are highly respected at the university because of their critical thinking and their imaginative, skills. So it quickens one, it sharpens your imaginative skills, and you'll be able to make a very good analysis, and that is one of the values of the discipline. Again, it helps people to know their country, it's people and culture. So you know the country Ghana. How? How did they come by the name the Gold Coast? What did they change to Ghana? So the people who are in Ghana and so forth. So you have an idea about that, the culture of the people. And so it will know ways of the view that the culture of the people as well. And you also know your identity. Yeah, you know, and your identity. So it also gives people identity, individual identity. You know where you come from, where you belong to, and as Noe pointed out, a person without history loses his identity. You don't even know where you come from. I think at this juncture, I will pause here. If anyone has question or any contribution to the discussion, then you can ask. So you show by hand, we give you the go ahead. To Patrick Edu, can you make your submission?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, we are grateful that we are met again. Sir, we said that history inculcates a sense of patriotism and nationalism. My submission here is that in Ghana, sometimes when you I may want to take teachers as a case study or example. Teachers are sometimes sent to a very remote areas to go and teach, and sometimes even the pay will not come at the right time, and people have to go through certain strenuous process before even you be incorporated into the cultural advantage. So sometimes the system is not friendly. The system is so hard that sometimes you need to go through strenuous situation, and that is killing that spirit of patriotism in us. Because today you tell a Ghanaian that you should die for the nation Ghana, it will be very difficult. But at the end of the day, when you die, the criticism that will come after to the death, it's not something that your family can even hold on to. So patriotism, indeed, we need to continue to practice them in our system. But those in the higher rank need to demonstrate that patriotism and loyalty, as you said. Well, if it is not there, those are the now. It's like we are trying to be um, um, good linkers to the system. So I believe that the system needs to just so that patriotism will be inculcated. And also, it is very important that we need to, as a history society, continue to drum to the president and then the curriculum developers and designers that history should be at where it should be everywhere. Because in Ghana, one thing I've observed is that we don't allow history to guide us. Always we are talking about science, science, science. But history is even sometimes referred to as a science. Many things were done through history. Many sciences discovery were done through history. So if the nation will hold the history, as you have said, it will help us. And it will even genuinely inculcate and instill in us that sense of patriotism and nationalism. Thank you, sir.
Your contribution. But you know that it's a very insightful one indeed. But don't forget that you see that this patriotism issue that we are talking about, everybody should be patriotic. So even if you write on public facilities like if you want to go to schools, you see some people writing on walls, neatly painted walls and all that. Especially at senior high school, and the rest that they write that senior so and so was here somewhere, and so they write bad English. And even at the universities, when you go to the washrooms, people will just write neatly painted and they will write all sort of things. They are not patriotic. Don't forget that state funds are used to paint such state buildings. And look at desks, and there are people who write on them and so forth. You see, all these are not the issues that do not demonstrate patriotism and loyalty. Okay, so those, as we said, right, so it goes for both those who occupy positions and those who do not. Don't forget that some teachers will not even go to school early. They will go very late. They will not teach well, and they will be all their challenges that they are facing will be the students are those who will be affected. So those that they are supposed to train to even come and help transform the country, then they will be affected because someone has an issue with the system or someone. But the innocent person, the innocent child, the learner. So you see that if you are to even go into details, as Mr. Patrick was saying, that those who are supposed to pay are not paying well, but those who are doing the work, some don't even go to work. Teachers, some teachers in some remote area don't even go to school. When they go, they even leave there early. A lot of things are going on, and people are so, yeah. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know your take, Mr. Patrick. I do.
Sir, it is true. The fact is what you are presenting to us. Nowadays, I would say that some of us teachers are very lazy, and some of us are not forthcoming. Even if you give them the opportunity, they don't want to utilize it, and then they will be complaining. But that one situation is rightly so. But the fact is, if the system is well planned and well structured, I don't believe that a teacher can um, deviate or move from or derail from the normal. But the fact is, if you go there to teach, the resources are not there. The road, I remember when I was posted to Nadia so some time back, and the Pra River inundated its boundary, and the whole school was flooded. So how do I teach? We are just right behind the river. So we find it difficult. Sometimes you go there and you see the agar everywhere. It is very allergic situation. But what can we do? We need to teach. But at the end of the day, you encounter a lot of issues and other here and there. So I'm talking about being patriotic here means that it should come from the top, trickling down. The system needs to be sanitized so that those of us at the down there will see that if the pragmatic plans are put in place, definitely the system will work itself. Just as I remember, ex-President Obama came, said that we should allow the system to work. If the system is not working, definitely people will have their way. They have their leeway, and at the end of the day, the system will not be as we are
Yeah,
expecting.
but Mr. Patrick, I'm not cutting you, but I think you seem to talk as if you are not in Africa. Is the things that you are busy talking about? You are in Africa, you are in Ghana. So you are talking as you are in the West. But is it the challenge of, yeah, that's the challenge of that we have in Africa. The challenge that we have in Africa. Go if you still have learners or people who are sitting under trees. So you are going to do our system working. You let's forget about that and move on. I think let's
Okay,
forget
sir.
because if you talk about that, it will be too long.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
so yeah, any other contribution to the definition of history and the relevance? If anyone has something to say, the person's allowed. If not, then we move on. Yeah, hello.
So please, are we done? We can't hear from you again.
Unless somebody was talking. That is why Doctor will check. Hello, Doc.
Yeah, so hello.
Yes, doc.
Okay, so I think we can now proceed. Yeah,
Okay.
so if someone has something to say, if not, then we have seen history and its values. So now let's look at historical facts. Historical facts. So a historical fact is a particular event. Um please give me some 1 minute. Let me some few minutes, please. I will be get back. Yeah, sorry. So let's move on. So let's look at historical facts. Can you hear me now? Please, can you
Yes,
hear me?
doc.
Okay, so we have seen history and its relevance. So we will proceed to look at historical fact briefly. And now, I want to say a fact. You want to understand what is meant by a historical fact and what is it. So a historical fact is a particular event or an occurrence in the past, which has been derived or obtained from documents or traditions and regarded as true and credible. So that is it. So a historical fact is just a particular event or an occurrence in the past, something that took place in the past, and which has been derived or obtained from documents. So, for example, if you say that Ghana attained its independence on 6 March 1957, it's a fact. Yeah, we have it on record that that is 6 March 1957 was the day that Ghana had its independence, and so it's a fact, and so it's regarded as what true and credible. Yeah, so it is fact. The day that we had independence cannot change, and the fact that we saw Osaji Dr. Kwame Nkrumah saying that Ghana, your beloved nation, is is free forever, or yeah, declare that the name has changed from Gold Coast to Ghana. So it's a fact that can never be changed. Can't change. Again, such a fact must be of an importance to society, and this is to say that an event is not necessarily historical fact simply because it happened in the past. For an event to be considered as a historical fact, it must have affected the lives of the people in the society, since the essential concern of history is human action. Now, yeah, so that is it. And so it's not everything that you can say is a fact. Those that really affected man, so it must have some significance. Okay, yeah, and that is what we mean here. Now, having seen facts, let's look at philosophy of history. What is it? What is philosophy of history? So, the philosophy of history, we need to look at it and then explain it. If we ask you to talk about what is philosophy of history, so that you'll be able to say something. Now, when you say philosophy of history, it's a branch of historical study. So that is it. It's part, it's a branch of historical study or studies. That branch of historical study that places emphasis on the cause of human civilization. It places emphasis on the cause of human civilization. So human civilization, that is the whole period of human existence. The whole period of human existence. The whole period of human existence. It is also a branch of philosophy as a discipline. That study the course of historical events. So now we have branch of philosophy. So philosophy of history. Every discipline has its philosophy, and so philosophy of history is a branch. Yeah, it's a branch of philosophy as a discipline, and it studies the course of historical events. It does not deal with individual or unique events. No, it doesn't do that. But of course, the whole course of history, that from the earliest times to the present, so the whole course of history from the earliest times to the present, it attempts to discover patterns and purposes in the whole course of historical events. In the whole course of historical events. So a philosophy of history is a personal theory. So we want to now we have seen the philosophy, and then take note that there are differences between the philosophy of history and a philosophy of history. So we saw the philosophy of history as a branch of historical study that places emphasis on the course of human civilizations. And a philosophy of history, on the other hand, is a personal theory formulated by an individual about the course of history. So you can even formulate your own theory about what you think the course of history is or will be. That's somebody said that, yeah, the course of history is just about class struggle or our soccer car, it goes round, and somebody says a linear, and somebody say no, it's this and that. So, okay, so that is a personal theory, anybody at all. Now, the theory cannot be verified. No, this theory, personal theory, cannot be verified, and it is only valid and acceptable to the formulator, the one who came out with the theory, and whoever chooses to follow him. So, it's valid to these people. Yeah. Now, a philosophy of history, if well formulated, can influence the course of history. Yeah, so if you influence it, you formulate it well, then of course it can influence the course of history. So a philosophy of history is normally split or divided into two parts. So we have a critical or analytical philosophy of history, and we have speculative philosophy of history. So the chunk of the work that we'll be doing this time and the philosophy of history will dwell on these. That is the critical and speculative philosophies of history. Now, critical philosophy, let's look at that. What is critical philosophy? So, critical philosophy of history dealt with issues such as historical. Critical philosophy of history dealt with issues such as historical explanation, objectivity in history, whether history can be considered as a science or not. So that is critical, philosophy of history. Now it deals with these issues. Now, for example, what is historical explanation? Nature of historical explanation. Objectivity in history. Can history be objective? Can historians be objective in their account? Is history a science or not? Now, these are some of the issues. Should historians make moral judgments? Should they judge actors of? So, these are some of the issues. These are some of the issues that fall under critical philosophy of history. Now, speculative philosophy of history, on the other hand, try to find out the meaning and purpose in history. So they try to find out the meaning and purpose of history. Yeah, in history. So, example, what is the end of history? They try to find what is the end of history. Others try to see an aim or a goal to be attained in the future. So that is it. That is speculative. What is the end? In fact, they wanted to find an ultimate yeah. So ultimate aim of human existence. So people will say that the ultimate aim of human existence is that you are going to go through a cycle, and depending on the kind of life that you live, that will determine your next coming. And they will say, no, it is a linear your relationship to you and your relationship with God. So struggle between the forces of good and bad. And if you do well, then you would enter the kingdom of so we have for example St. Augustine is this vitality day, the city of God and the city of Satan, or that is even Satan does not have so the city of God and hell. So of course if you do good then you end up in heaven, if you do bad then you go to hell. And so these are some of the philosophies. So it's valid to the formulator and anybody who chooses to follow him. Now, what is the end of history? Others try to see an aim or a goal to be attained in the future, as Karl Marx would say. So, the Marxist philosophy of history, for example, attempts to show the course of human history. Yeah, show that the course of human history has been one of class struggles, and that the goal will be the attainment of a classless society. And that is what Marx is saying. Yeah. So attempt to show that the course of human history has been one of a class struggles, and that the goal will be the attainment of a classless society. Classless society. Okay, good. Now, I think we will have to look at go into these. So critical and analytical philosophy. We'll look at that. But I think today we shall for philosophy of history would end here at that, so that the next time we shall look at if you look at them into detail. So we will now delve into the critical. So look at the critical philosophy of history into detail. So look at them from the cyclical theory and all that. So for today, I think we'll end here, and next time we shall move ahead to look at some of these issues that I'm talking about. Go through them, both critical and analytical philosophy of history. Um, let me see. Okay, let me stop sharing and then see if we can look at and give him some few 5 minutes. I would revert to see if we can look at USA and Russia, introduce ourselves to USA and Russia. Okay, thank you very much. I'll be back with you. I'm stopping sharing, and I want to. Ah, that's it. I didn't question because you're bed one up. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Doc.
Okay, then let me share.
Hello.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Let's now. We had a short break, so we continue from USA and Russia, please. If I'm permitted to go ahead, am I permitted?
Yes,
Yes,
Doc.
please.
Okay. Yeah. So now USA and Russia. So this is USA. So first of all, there are two courses that we have combined, and because we do comparative analysis, we do comparison. So we have so we look at this. So the course answer are also two, one from USA and then one from Russia. So we go through the topics. So don't worry, they are very simple. There's not going to be any difficulties. Yeah, because the same period we want to do comparison, thing that happened in USA and thing that happened in Russia. Yeah. So I think some people have left, or are they back? Can we move on? Hello.
We can move on. They will come back.
They will come back, eh? Then remind them that we are back so that they come. Okay, so
Okay.
now let's look at the US component. So the course offers students the opportunity to undertake a detailed study of United States westward expansion in the 19th century. So we're going to look at that and the conflict that it generated in the nation, which in turn led to the Civil War. The consequences of the Civil War on the two belligerent sides, in other words, the two nations that fought, and the two racial groups will be studied. So here we are going to actually focus extensively on U.S. participation in the World War One. Look at their participation in the World War One. Now, objectives. So it is expected that students will have an in-depth understanding of the social, economic, and political conditions in Republican USA relative to those in monarchy Russia. So we see that US is a republic of Republican states and monarchy in Russia. So we'll do that. At the end of the course, students should, of course, should be able to explain the differences in the conditions of the emancipated slaves and serfs in the USA and Russia. So we should do so. It's a comparative something. We have slaves here in the USA, how they so the condition of the emancipated slaves, and then the serfs too in Russia. So the slaves in USA and the serfs in Russia. So what are the topics that we'll be looking at? So one, American westward expansion in the 1840s. Then we look at slavery and expansionism in America. Then Civil War and Reconstruction in America. Then USA and World War One. So these are the four topics that we shall discuss under USA. And then we'll come to USA. We have some topics. We have references here that you can see. Yeah, you can see these references. They are here available. Then we'll go to the Russia component called description. So here, this course, that is Russian aspect, deals with the history of Russia from Alexander the Great, Alexander the First, sorry, Alexander the First, to the Russian Revolution. So the revolution that broke out in Russia. It examines Russia's foreign and internal politics and policies as it affected, yeah, as it affected. So that word is as, not at. This is as it affected by autocracy and serfdom in the age where the rest of Europe was liberalizing under capitalism. Then we have such internal politics and politics of autocracy. Now, it attempts to explain Russia's backwardness in the 18th, 19th, and early parts of the 20th century. Why did Russia lag behind? So you need to be looking at that. It also examines the economic development and the impact of the First World War on Russia. These themes in the history of Russia provide adequate grounds for comparison with developments in the USA in the same period. So development in the USA in the same period. So we do that. Now, what are the objectives? So by the end of the course, we expect that students should be able to acquire knowledge of the developments in Russia in the 19th and early 20th centuries. So we expect that they should be able to acquire knowledge of the developments in Russia in the 19th and the early 20th centuries, then compare events in different geographical areas, so that of Russia and that of USA. Then we also expect that they transfer knowledge from one course to the other. Yeah, that is so they know the development that happened. Now, so the other topics as we discussed four topics in USA, the same thing. We will look at four topics here: serfdom in Russia, Russia and Alexander the First, that is 1801 to 1825, and what he did in relation to serfdom. Then we shall look at Nicholas the First and reaction, 1825 to 1855, and what he also did, yeah, in the area of serfdom in Russia. Then we look at the era of great reforms in Russia, that is 1855 to 1881. Now, as I said during philosophy of history, so two components. So we have continual assessment and end of semester exams. End of semester. So continual assessment, carries 40 marks, and then the end of semester exams will also carry 60 marks. So Russia, we have some works that are available that we can get them. You can read them to supplement the slides that will give you. Okay, good. Let me stop sharing the course outline, or unless someone has question with the course outline, I want to share the first topic so that if you can also go to the first topic as we did in philosophy of history. Questions, please, if there is one. Hello. Hello.
Hi, sir, we are with you.
Hello, Doc.
Okay,
We
then
are
let
with
me
you.
stop. Yeah, then if there are no questions with the outline, let me stop sharing and then continue. Okay, I'm coming. I want to share. So the first topic was on the first topic was on USA. The first topic was American westward expansion. American westward expansion. The slavery and expansionism. Okay, so now we look at slide 1. Let me share it now. Okay, so slavery and expansionism. Now, so that is, let's look at that. Yeah, so the Atlantic slave trade, slavery in the USA, the politics of slavery, manifest destiny, westward expansion, and the compromise of 1850. And the compromise of 1850. Yeah, so the words are very small, just like the way it was done to increase less. Listen a bit. Okay, yeah, so now here we are going to look at slavery in the America and the arrival of Christopher Columbus and his crew in 1492 on the American soil. And so it also highlights the introduction of sugar plantation economy, which aided the pursuit of labor and hence the introduction of the slave trade. So rediscovery of the new world. So the rediscovery of the new world, look at that. So the new world was rediscovered by Christopher Columbus. So Columbus was the one who rediscovered the new world when he made his 4 trips between 1492 and 1503. So between this period. Yeah, so between this period, Christopher Columbus, that between 1492 and 1503, he made 4 trips. Yeah, and so that led to the introduction of sugar plantation economy in the New World. So the place that became known as New World. And so the Spanish monarch sponsored Christopher Columbus to embark on this journey, while the Portuguese were slowly and gradually paddling along the Guinea coast of West Africa. So the time that the Portuguese, in fact, even the Spaniards, Spain, yeah, the Spain was the second European nation to come to West Africa, but they gave up their interest in West Africa to the New World and left for the New World, and they were known as the Castilians. The Castilians. Okay, so now throughout the contact, the Spaniards brought sugar plantation economy. Yeah, from the Canary Island to Hispaniola, that's San Domingo, an island in the New World. So from Hispaniola, sugar plantation reached, yeah, Puerto Rico, yeah, Jamaica, and Mexico. And so these were the areas. Sugar exports from the New World began to reach Europe from 1592. Take note of this date. Now, on April 22, 1500, Pedro Alvares Cabral, take note, who was a Portuguese explorer, raided the shores of what is now known as Brazil and claimed that part of South America for Portugal. So by the end of the 16th century, sugar cultivation also began in Brazil. Also began in Brazil. Now, yeah. So slavery in the USA, let's continue from there. Now, the introduction of sugar plantation economy. Yeah, the introduction of sugar plantation economy. The introduction of sugar plantation economy in the New World meant that labor force was needed. So they had now introduced sugar plantation economy, and that was on a large scale. Therefore, they would need men. They would need labor who would work. So the natives of the New World who were there, and they were referred to as the Red Indians, they were made up of debtors and criminals from Europe, were initially used as the labor force. So those that they started using to provide labor for the work. However, These people were infected by diseases like smallpox, tropical malaria, yellow fever, mumps, and measles. In addition, many of the labor force perished due to the abuse the European inflicted on them. And so, therefore, European immigrants, that immigrant sugar planters in the New World, turned to Black Africa for the solution to their problem of labor, especially when the suggestion came from prominent people that the Africans were capable, so they should turn to Africa and get people to work for them. Now, so the question is, why Black Africa? Experience at Sao Tome and elsewhere in the old world had shown the dependability of blacks, of the Black African slaves in the sugar plantation economy. So they were dependable and they could do the work. Africans came from an environment where those who survived into adolescence acquired some immunity to such old world diseases like smallpox, mumps, measles, malaria, and yellow fever. Okay. Now, so Bartolomeo de las Casas and many other Spanish priests suggested the use of West Africans. Yeah, they suggested that Africans should be used to work in the sugar plantations and the mines in the New World. In fact, in 1501, 50 enslaved Black Africans were sent from Spain to the New World. In 1518, more enslaved Africans were sent directly from Black Africa to the New World. Now note that this was the main reason for the prevalence of the transatlantic slave trade. In 1494, a contract known as Asiento, a contract that was known as Asiento, was signed between Portugal and Spain. Now, this was a special license or agreement that enabled Portugal to acquire slaves from West Africa and supply the Spanish colonies in the New World. In the New World. Now, in the 17th and 18th centuries, enslaved Africans worked mainly on the tobacco, rice, and indigo plantations. Now, what challenges did they face? Challenges faced by the enslaved people. They were prohibited from learning to read and write. Again, their behavior and movement were restricted. They could not move freely, of course. Many enslaved women were raped by their masters. Enslaved people who rebelled were brutally punished, and marriages between enslaved men and women were proscribed. Now, they did not have legal basis. Yeah, did not have legal basis. So it was made illegal, so to speak. Yeah, I want to pick a call first. Yeah, hello. Okay, yeah. Can you hear me, please? Why is this thing not?
Yes, Doc. We can now hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so
Sorry,
marriages
can you
between
do nice and clear?
enslaved men and women had no legal basis in that. Was just marriages between them. Enslaved men and women were prescribed. And so these were some of the challenges that the enslaved people faced. So that will give an idea about the condition of the slaves as we speak at the time. Now, yeah, so now let's look at the, yeah, so the South had an economic crisis. I just want to see something whether it is the politics of slavery. That is 8. Then we go to 7. Yeah, the South had an economic crisis in the late 19th century as a result of the virtually complete exhaustion of the land used for tobacco cultivation, which cast doubt on the future expansion of slavery in America. Now, during this period, the demand for raw cotton fibers increased, in addition to mechanization of the textile industry in England. So, of course, in 1793, a young Yankee teacher known as Ellen Whitney created the cotton gin. So he created the cotton gin. Now, cotton gin was a straightforward mechanical device that effectively removed the seeds. And so within a short period, his tobacco or his method was accepted in the South, and as a result of that, people began to shift from large-scale tobacco plantation to cotton cultivation because of the invention of the cotton gin. A cotton cultivation increase in the South, demand as cotton increase in the South, demand for slaves labor also increased. Slaves who worked in the cotton cultivation received 2 outfits each year, occasionally sewn for domestically grown hemp or ocean cotton imported from Germany. Slaves were sometimes given wool garments for the cold weather. Yards of fabrics were occasionally given to enslaved women, so they could, of course, they could dress their family. Children frequently walked barefooted, barefoot throughout the year, while adults wore, tough leather uh, brogans that reached their ankles. Okay, so now let's look at the politics of slavery briefly. And so here we'll look at the South against the North in the US. The number of free and slave states in the United States was equally by 1819. Was equal by 1819. But despite the Constitution's uh, three-fifths rule, which of course required that each state's slave population be taken into account when determining the congressional election, the slave states had a significantly smaller number of representatives in Congress. So the state that had slaves had small number. Southern politicians pushed for the constitution for the continuation of slavery as Missouri sought statehood that year. Now, Congress recognized Maine as free state while admitting Missouri as slave state in 1820. And so, however, Congress outlawed slavery in the remaining Louisiana Purchase territories north of Missouri's southern border. So the debate, rode the aid Thomas Jefferson's apprehensions alarmed him like a fire bell in the night. Bearing Jefferson's apprehension, slavery increasingly dominated national politics at the time. National politics at the time. So in 1836, Southern congressmen rammed through procedural rules barring Congress from receiving anti-slavery petitions. So John Quincy Adams, who was of course the former president now in Congress, defended the constitutional rights of petition, but the gag rule remained in force for 8 years. So in 1844, the presidential candidate of the Anti-Slavery Liberty Party, which was founded in 1839, of course, received 62,000 votes enough to help Democrat James Polk defeat the Whig Henry Clay. And so in 1845, Texas was admitted as a slave state and increased on ease in the North. A law prohibiting slavery in areas won during the Mexican War was approved by the House of Representatives in 1847. And so we have an idea about the gradual, interest and spread of this admission of these states. But Senate rejected it. The Free Soil Party, founded in 1848 by rebel Northern Whigs and Democrats, opposed the spread of slavery, so they were against it. Even though it was spreading steadily, they were against it. Now, California was also admitted as free states, and Congress empowered the voters of New Mexico and Utah territories to decide the question themselves. While closing Washington's open air slave trade, Congress permitted slavery to continue in the nation's capital. Take note that this meant that the South would be happy. This was their major victory. And so Congress enacted the harsh fugitive slave law. That is, take note of the fugitive slave law. And that authorized federal marshals, aided, if necessary, by deputized passbys, to seize escaped slaves and ships and ship them south without a jury trial. To many Northerners, this law underscored the truly implacable nature of the slave power. And so the debating slavery, so from colonialism to abolition, and let's have an idea. So in the early national era, many Southern leaders favored emancipating slaves and returning them to Africa. So why wouldn't we free them? Why wouldn't we liberate them? Why wouldn't we emancipate them and then send them back to where they came from? So Robert Finley, a Presbyterian clergyman, founded the American Colonization Society, ACS, in 1816. So he founded that. In 1828, the ACS repatriated some 12,000 freed slaves to West African coastal town they called Monrovia.
Doc, please, we can't hear.
Same here. Maybe network. Doctor has left.
That is so long.
Where's your from? What is happening?
Yes, maybe it could be network too.
So if you can find out from him, I will know. Maybe it will be rescheduled to another time.
ane emo baako I'm chill back with me. I'm chill back with me now. I'm chill back. Catch yourself, and I'm sure that here. I'm with you.